Our Advent sermon series is looking at the 4 names of the Messiah mentioned in Isaiah: Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Pastor Sherry said in the junior sermon today that we are looking at Everlasting Father and how Jesus embodies this title. In the New Testament reading from the Gospel of John, you're going to hear Jesus, just before he faces his own death, tell his disciples about his relationship with God the Father. If you'd like to follow along, you can find this on page 108 in the New Testament. John 14, 1 through 18. Jesus said, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. And you know the way to the place where I am going." Thomas said to him, "Lord, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way?" Jesus said to him, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you know me, you will know my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him." Philip said to him, "Lord, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied." Jesus said to him, "Have I been with you all this time, Philip, and you still do not know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, 'Show us the Father'? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. Believe me that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. But if you do not, then believe me because of the works themselves. Very truly, I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these, because I am going to the Father. I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If in my name you ask me for anything, I will do it. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to be with you forever. This is the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive because it neither sees him nor knows him. You know him because he abides with you, and he will be in you. I will not leave you orphaned. I am coming to you." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. One of the new as seen on TV toys that you cannot live without this year is called a cloud pet. Maybe some of you have already bought a cloud pet for your child or a child in your life. Rather than try to explain the concept to you, I am going to show you the commercial. Now, let me warn you first, if you think these commercials seem corny when you're sitting in your living room, just wait till you see it in church.
Saying goodbye can be hard. The ones you love seem so far. Now, staying in touch is easy and fun with Cloud Pets. Just record a
Hope
message
you had a good day at school. I miss you.
and send to the cloud. In just seconds, your message floats down.
Hope you had a good day at school. I miss you.
It's a message you can hug. Now, squeeze Puppy's paw to send one back.
Night, Daddy, I love you.
Cloud Pets makes you feel like the ones you love are always near. Now you can stay in touch with the ones you love with Cloud Pets for $29.99 plus $6.99 processing and handling. Each Cloud Pet connects to the special free app that will download to almost any smart device and includes free stories, games, and lullabies to share with your loved ones. And if you're active duty military, we'll give you free shipping with your paid order. You can call or log on at cloudpets.com. Smart devices not included. included. Each sold separately. Must be 18 or older to order. Cloud Pets.
Kids are really happy when they have a teddy bear and a device that are connected. I love that tagline, Cloud Pets, a message you can hug. I probably would have wanted Cloud Pet when I was a child. I was a sucker for stuffed animals. And I admit I was an especially needy young child who often woke up in the middle of the night needing some sign that my parents were still there. Mom, Dad, on an almost nightly basis. Until I was at least 4, I would wake them up out of a sound sleep to tell them that I wasn't sleeping. And could I just crawl into bed with them? Who knows, my parents might have seen the Cloud Pet as their ticket to a good night's sleep. They could have recorded a greeting like this: Betsy, we're right across the hall, and we're sleeping. Please roll over, close your eyes, and do not come into our room. I might have found it comforting to hug a message like that, but I doubt it. The Cloud Pet could be a great tool for families, for parents and grandparents trying to stay in touch with children at a distance. Military families especially come to mind. There is a primal need in children to check in with the adults closest to them and make sure that the bond is still there. When Isaiah was a prophet in Israel, God's people were waiting for a message to come in from God, whom they saw as their compassionate, responsive Father. They wanted to know that God was still there and that they mattered. You may recall that over the course of their history, they had received messages that brought direction and comfort. God had spoken to Abraham and to Isaac and Jacob, saying that he would make of them a great nation. Don't worry, I will complete it. God spoke through Moses, giving him the message to pass on that Israel had cried out and God had heard. And then God spoke to King David, saying that the house or temple of David's son, that David's son Solomon would build, would last forever, and that the kingdom would be everlasting. These messages from God formed the basis of Israel's self-understanding. But the kingdom during Isaiah's time was unraveling. The nation was divided, and soon most of them would be living in exile. What happened to that everlasting kingdom? Naturally, people wanted another message from God, a message like the one God spoke to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, David. They hoped and prayed that God would send a sign, say something, anything. They wanted to know that they were still God's chosen, beloved people. When I was in seminary, I worked part-time in a hospital that treated people with mental illness and addictions. The hospital was located about 35 minutes from our apartment, and I felt so ineffective going there that I would often wonder on my drive through the country what the point of my being there was, besides receiving class credit. The hospital had an adolescent wing, which is where I spent most of my time, walking around with Ray, my supervisor. Ray was a kind, older Methodist minister whom the kids called Rev. About halfway through my required semester, I met a girl I'll call Tabitha, who had grown up with an abusive father and an almost absent mother. She had attempted suicide, and at this point, she could not stop cutting herself with the random objects available to her. A button she would snap in half, plastic silverware from the dining hall. She made herself bleed just to feel something. Sometimes I would eat dinner with Tabitha in the dining hall, and let her talk about her family, her beliefs, her crushes that she had on fellow patients in the hospital. I remember her saying to me, "I believe in God. In fact, I ask God a lot to send me a message. Tell me what I'm here for. Tell me if anyone loves me." In the car on my long drive home, I would pray that God, the God who created her compassionate Father, would answer her prayer and send her some kind of message. From other conversations I have as a pastor, I can say that asking God to send a message is common. We long to know that God is there, at work on our behalf, and that we matter. Into Israel's doubt, God did speak a message through Isaiah. It was a message promising light in the darkness, a message about a child who was born, who would grow up and be given authority, who would be known among other things as Everlasting Father, whose reign would bring endless peace. It's likely that not even Isaiah understood what these words meant or when they would be fulfilled. Many scholars believe that Israel hoped that God was raising up at that moment, that a child had been born already, that God was raising up to be a good king, a responsible, authoritative, father-like ruler, whose political message would be exactly on point and transformative for them as a nation. But it wasn't until 700 years later, in the fullness of time, that God did better than send another human king with the right message for Israel. The Gospel of John says that the word or the message became flesh and dwelt among us. The God of Israel, who previously had spoken through burning bushes and angels and prophets, came near in Jesus Christ like a father coming home to a house full of children. For people expecting only spoken messages from God, God's presence in Jesus was jarring and difficult to accept. How could it be that God, the Father of all humankind, who had never fully revealed his face to Israel, would lower himself and become human? Yet the evidence was there. Jesus healed the sick, turned water into wine, forgave sins, and claimed to be the I Am. Even the disciples, after spending significant time with Jesus, found it hard to believe. Philip said, "Lord, show us the Father and we'll be satisfied." And to that Jesus said, "Whoever has seen me has seen the Father, Philip. I am in the Father and the Father is in me." Jesus was proclaiming very clearly that the everlasting Father spoken of by Isaiah had come near. And like a good father taking care of his household, Jesus promised never to leave them orphaned. His Spirit would be with them to the end, encouraging and guiding them to continue Christ's work on earth. That's the everlasting part. With the Spirit working through us, we now embody the message of hope to others until Christ comes again in glory. After I finished the semester of working at the mental hospital, I kept in touch with Reverend Ray. One day, Ray called and gave me a message. He said, "Tabitha wanted you to know that she misses you. She said you were the only person who sat with her, and listened to her, besides the social workers who were paid to do it. She said that when you were there, it felt like God was there. The everlasting Father is still among us. He lives in you, and he lives in me. And every once in a while, we see the Father's eyes. We feel the Father's embrace. We know the Father's compassion. If you want a message you can hug, get a cloud pet. If you want more than a message, that is, if you want a relationship with the living God who will give you assurance and purpose, who will be with you to the end, place your trust in Jesus Christ, the everlasting Father. Amen.